Zoom in on that and read it. I did not have public relations. Excuse me. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Depending on what your definition of did not is. Why didn't he just walk straight out of the White House and go beat the hell out of the news media and be done with it back in the 90s? And the answer is, organized crime is hiding behind zero-tolerance assault law that they lied off that you women were going to get your liberation by. And women's liberation was not what you women wanted to do. It amounted to a man being much worse so you women could be the better man, and every other angle of problems, which amounted to slavery, to suit bad government to keep me out of this thing from reproducing. And I'm Gary York, Real Psychology. I think this is number 14. I've got a lot to tell you. You've got heaven on earth. Where is it? Where'd it go? I'm interpreting this as a history book written by bad people that lie. And it is. And when you try and put a God in it, you try to put angels in it, it doesn't work. And I'm here to set you free. And as far as second coming and somebody's prophesying, well, I'll show you how easy it is to predict the second coming. There was a first coming, which apparently was Lucifer. This is the New Testament. Lucifer was Old Testament. Still a history book, still written by liars, but liars like to brag. And it looks to me that Jesus and Lucifer were both carpenters. They both knew each other. And the last video explains that more, but I'm going to predict the third coming. That's how easy it is to prophesy. 2021 years later, you have a second coming, and I'm going to give you some things to go on for you to prove this. Because this will end religion forever. You'll have fact now instead of endless religions. Religion is essentially the what if. And when you have the facts, your mind doesn't self-populate in such crazy manners as, here, let me waste your time a little bit here. It's hypnosis. A virgin born a son of God on a bale of hay. And I'm going to get you talking to Arizona government. And they made sure that I didn't end up dead. And I would say the reason why is that they wanted to study me. According to the Bible, people told me, I went around to people and got it, about 32 years old, Jesus was killed. And I'm going to guess that, put a number on it, that Lucifer was somewhere around that age. And at that age, I did not have enough to be a teacher of this. The evidence is that Lucifer was born with this because I am. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The egg did. And he did not have this because he wasn't old enough yet. And I'm nearly twice as old as Lucifer was, and I'm able to be a teacher of this also. Because in order to have your heaven on earth, this is your true Trinity. You've got hell that you're living in now, 9,000 years apparently. You got your earth and heaven, the possibility of it. And government has clearly been watching out for me from day one, to keep me destroyed, to keep me without having children, without multiplying. These items were very clear, and I'm going to go into some of my history. I can't get specific because freedom of speech laws will not allow us to identify organized crime. It's all protecting organized crime. So I'll just say, if you're not a criminal, you're not Arizona government. And we'll leave it at that. And you got a long way to go, and your government is people too. The concept that they're people led by God. I know, Christian, I've heard it. I read the Bible twice when I was a teenager, but I've talked to people. What did you get out of it? And that's what matters. What do you have to say? How did that commercial affect you? What were the numbers you got out of it? What was the decision you got out of that commercial? Not what that commercial said, but what did you get from it? And so that's the way to go. You do everything with real psychology. You take all your information and make a decision when you need to. In old-style game psychology, you have a credible source, which is not. It's the bad guy. It's the government. And it's not a credible source. It's merely the bigger source. The one that's going to win is the bad guy. And you live by rules to a game. Your mouth gravitates open and argue to anything that doesn't match that game. Completely different than real psychology. Real psychology, you continue taking in information. It is much more interesting to take in the facts and decide for yourself. And all of you will love this because it's your state of being awake. And this game psychology is your state of being asleep. And any computer hooked to the internet is a much larger idiot than any college graduate. And being full of memory, which is game psychology, is not so impressive as real psychology. And this is your only threat to government. There is nothing else. Not war, not this, not that, invasion of the White House. No, that's job security. They want that. All of them do. Bad government. The only threat to bad government is real psychology. However, I've come far enough that I'm 58 years old to see that together you can talk government into a, let's call it, truce to this old style crap. You've been going in your toilet swirl 9,000 years. According to some carbon dating information I got 20 years ago, I guess, the modern skull was found 9,000 years old, whatever. So I put a number on it, and it doesn't really matter. A lot of numbers don't matter too much. But I'm going to get you talking to Arizona government to get you to take on a state of awake. When you women have zero tolerance assault law, and there are cars just driving by while somebody's casually taking a cell phone video of police casually murdering somebody on the sidewalk, and nobody even has that choice in their mind, anything to weigh it against. You only have one item, is keep driving, let the murder take place because they have a police uniform on. And that's time to clean up zero tolerance assault law. I don't know how it is in other states. Arizona is actually paying people $50,000 obligated by the victim to pick a fight and get an assault. I mean, you're supposed to. Some people are supposed to defend. That is the way it's supposed to be. Your government is out bombing people and they're the aggressor. Your government is out murdering people on the sidewalks of the police force and they're the aggressor. But they tell us that we're not allowed to defend. Well, they call it pushing your buttons or getting in your space. Some of you might have heard that. I think I got both of those on TV, so I'm trying to memory match with you. Absolute lies. When somebody is talking verbal fight to you and they rush their body to you, that is an escalation to physical fight because they are using their physical body as a bullying tool. And you should have the right to defend because it throws everything off when you don't. When you have to cower down to a small person, that throws everything off. You need to clean it up, and your government is people too. They're going to be better off with the truth. Present the truth to the Arizona government and start getting with it. The only one I can mention, I think, since he chose to be a public figure basically all his life, is Joe Arpaio. And I had mentioned before that in uniform in the marked vehicle, the Phoenix police were stalking me when I was 6. And then I went to school, and of course they turned some neighbors against me. No reason why. They never did, so I'm putting this reason on it. I'm putting this one on it. And I want you to confront the Arizona government about that. Is that why? Because after 58 years of being victim of this, I've learned this, and I'm saying yes, 100% conclusion. This is the reason why. And I went to school. They had a gang of Phoenix police children picking fight on me. It was so embarrassing. They were coming after only Gary York. This Gary York. And so embarrassed. The biggest one would stand in the middle, stepping on the backs of my shoes and kicking my ankles, redundant for 6 years. And so embarrassing, so ruinful to everything good. And by the time I was in 4th grade, I started seeing girls. 3rd grade, I didn't notice them. 4th grade, I started noticing them. By 5th grade, they had set up an event with a girl that was so awful, I didn't like girls anymore. And that pretty much took that away. Give me somebody that's up to par with me. Well, in all the world, put the hand up like that, 0. And but 7th grade, they were a bit disbanded, and I'm not sure that mattered, because what they did, the biggest one would go up the row, and while we were standing in line to go into class, kicking each kid in the upper leg with his knee. And he did that a few times, and of course he kicked me also. So after a few times of that, I was watching everyone else being kicked too. And so we wrestled in the grass, and I hit him about 10 times. It didn't do anything. We were 7th graders. Nothing happened. He was an idiot to begin with, about 2 inches taller than me, and still an idiot, I'm sure, today if he's alive. Son of a Phoenix police officer. So what that did was give them an excuse to rush to some coward judge and get an undercover agent on me. Now, I can't tell you his name. In fact, I probably wouldn't describe him because he is very unusual. So, but it's in the book. If anybody wants to read it, I need to leave out a lot because this is 449 pages. I'm not going to put details in this one today anyway. But I could tell that this undercover agent was on me because of all the events that were going on. I knew somebody was watching out for me. They had teachers, they had principals, one principal, one vice principal, many teachers, and a few students. And this one tall kid, he had his friend turn around in line one day. And the kid just started swinging at me. I started swinging back at him. And then he turned around and was back in line, and that was it. We were 7th graders. And he was in front of me. He turned around and started swinging at me. So a teacher came up that was not the teacher we were standing in line for. And he said, "Okay, Gary York, you did not lose the fight, so now you got to refight it." And they had boxing gloves, and they had a little boxing ring made up for us to refight it until I lost the fight. And but anyway, I just sat in class and cried, and everybody knew why I was crying. And the kids that I had fought the other kid, none of them that were being kicked in the upper leg came over to thank me for at least trying to do something. Nobody did, because they knew the bad guy was the winner. They knew about organized crime, and I did too, because I was a victim of it. I was the victim of it. And even a good friend of mine, he said, "Oh, you are the mechanical man." And that was a derogatory comment to me. Yeah, we went in the boxing ring after school or whatever. This other teacher that had no business in our business. And I refused to fight. I was just like this. "Oh, you got to hold your hands up." So I held them up, and the other kid said he didn't mind because he wasn't the one getting hit. And over I refused to fight, and people were picking fight on me. Little people, a lot of times. And I was, each time I would defend myself of people that had no reason to be attacking me, and they weren't attacking other people. There wasn't that much fighting going on in our schools, and it was mainly going on here with no reason why, because I wasn't defending anyone. And this is clearly the reason why. And the undercover agent, who claimed to be Joe Arpaio's undercover agent, revealed himself to me about 2 years later, and there was much evidence that he did exist. And had me go out on the murder, which was in exchange for an arson. It's in the book more. But anyway, we went to a house on the way, a building project, that house that was being built, and there was an arson tied to that house too, which was a different arson than the one that the undercover agent did. But so I'll explain that one some other time, because you'll learn about insurances, you'll learn about bankers, and it's all summed up as organized and pussified crime. And I wrote down some items here. As you switch to real psychology, banks will probably be gone because you can trust your friends. You put your money in the back room or whatever you do, but you don't need infinite money. Each person doesn't need millions of dollars. And have what you need, but gambling, no, because you'll look at yourselves collectively. You can't go to heaven alone. And laws prohibit you from helping the people around you, and I'm saying you're going to have to deal with these laws and learn real psychology. You need to help each other. And anything can be interpreted as a threat. They got a governor of New York being threatened, and I have an answer to that one. You do the opposite, and that cancels one out. Gambling. You look at yourselves collectively as one unit. The house always wins. Nobody would ever gamble except for the enjoyment of being out. Insurance, never. Don't crash the car. Don't light the house on fire. And don't kill the person tied to the life insurance policy, etc. Like I say, Arizona government is paying people $50,000 to pick a fight, and as soon as somebody defends, the victim owes the culprit $50,000. That is not a productive government. That's a bad government. When government is productive, don't call it government, because they're not governing you, they're not hurting you, therefore don't call them government. Whereas insurance is government. We're waiting for the check from the government that's borrowed money, and nobody knows it because you can't understand sequence. If we had not given our monies away to insurance, and you should take a calculator and figure up what it would have been at a modest interest rate, how much you've given away to insurance in your lifetime. And don't look at what you've collected. Don't look at your winnings. That's not fair, because those winnings are all illegal. Military. Military is governments. It's not individuals. You knock on somebody's door, do you want to invade America? They'll tell you no. No. It would vanish as you evolve to this, because governments will diminish your police force. What would happen? You don't do it by game rule. Oh, here's your game rule. You do it by motive. Motive is 10/10 of reality. You do things by motive. And you wouldn't be motivated to call the police, and they would eventually dry up and go away. Your stock market, oh, what a mess. You get 4 cents a year interest on your savings account, and the same bank entity is putting out charge cards that are 28% interest. And in the middle of that is organized crime. bad government finagling that to force you to stock markets, which you wouldn't have either. Something would be done, not stock markets. They go up and down. You've got an unstable life that you're living. It's very disturbing. You're used to it. What you did yesterday tends to be what you do today. You've got the never-ending problems, and your government gives them to you. As soon as you had, in America, the nifty 50s, the good old days, they put out the Vietnam War. As soon as you had the prosperity of the Clinton era, they put out the Iraq War. And they're controlling that. They're creating these problems. Okay, you have an earthquake or a tornado, whatever. Blame God for it? I don't know. The things you can fix, you should fix. And now you can. While I'm here, and while I'm 58 years old, I have enough answers that government will find this appealing also. Even though bad government will vanish, bad government was not a very good idea. These people are still miserable. They've got the money, they've got the power, and that was a goal of game psychology, is money and power. And the game of real psychology is living in heaven. I saw a news on this morning, oh, here's spring break. I'm looking at all these fat, disgusting people. That's what spring break is now, out on the beach? That was amazing. Yeah, your stock rent. The concept of rent, when you like each other, you don't even like your own self. You go home alone and you've got the alcohol in one hand and the drugs in the other hand and the TV remote in the other one because you can't stand your own self. And so now you've got an answer, you've got an instead of, you've got real psychology that you can try out, but you all have to do it together. And I think you can. I should be here a little over 42 more years to teach all of you and see if you can do it. Can you grow a third eye? Well, who cares? This is about the same level of difficulty. After 9,000 years and you did not do this, I question whether this part of the brain exists in most people. I think Lucifer was the light of the world. God was jealous of him, so God cast Lucifer into a lake of fire. That was God's lake of fire. And God told Bush Jr. to blow up Iraq. Lucifer had a good idea trying to take over God, because God was all evidence we've got, like George Costanza said, he's a bad God. And inherently bad is the winner, because bad is the attacker and good is the productive worker. And the friend, and friends don't just go out and start chopping each other to pieces, and bad government does. So I've got number 8 here, divorce. You're not going to have that. Well, marriage to begin with is an acknowledgement of government. Is pretty much what it is. Are you faithful to each other? Are you attracted to each other? Okay. You're married, whatever. So, real psychology, bad government will like it in the end. But all of you need to start watching these videos. I got like 4 views a month on these videos. We need 8 billion views a month on them. You should be watching them over and over again. And We saw on national news that somebody overseas had a video of a bear cub frolicking on a skiing trail, and that gets worldwide attention, but intelligent videos do not. I've got a cabin in the woods in Arizona, 6424 West Jan Drive, Pine, Arizona. That's 85032. And if anybody wants to look it up on the internet or whatever. And I've seen a lot of animals up there. It's animal videos. If you want that, maybe I'll try and I'm going up there in a couple of months. Maybe I'll get an animal on there and put a animal picture out or some junk like that. But you people need to really grow brains that think. Take on the state of awake. Talk to the people next to you, because you can't fix yourself, whether you're a victim or whether you're a culprit. You cannot fix yourself. The person next to you has to address that situation. And doing nothing didn't work. That's essentially what you did. You had this instead of. Your government knows that try not to doesn't work. But I'm guessing that federal government has been analyzing me for a long time by the evidence that I have. And Joe Arpaio is 88 years old now. The undercover agent of Joe Arpaio, so he claims, and probably so, was about 20 when he began stalking me. And he was stalking me in Maricopa County. I moved to Pine, then he arrested me as Payson police. And they were towing my vehicle up and down through Payson. The lights flashing all around us. We had to wait 20 minutes for another undercover agent, a female undercover agent, to come down from either Pine or Strawberry. The highway patrol brought her down. Steroid tweaking highway patrolman with a, they pulled his vehicle up with this crystal tweaking woman in it. So she had a good view of my crotch while this undercover agent that was now Payson police was busy fondling me and whatnot. And they took me to the sheriff's station, the back room, and they were saying things to me like, "Oh, you look like you're going to fart, Gary. Are you going to fart?" And it was all foolishness. And that's why I suspect this, an entire lifetime. And I looked around at other people and it wasn't happening. These events, I'm going to leave out most of it. A lot of it's in the book. But at one point, I had gotten out of my parents' house, that property. I had a 12 by 12 I was living in. And it came time to get the building permits. I'm going to build a house. I'm a builder, just like Jesus and Lucifer. But I thought, well, gee, I'm 24, 25, whatever I was. I'm away from my parents now. This is going to stop now. I was hoping it's my parents that are calling them, and they're going to stop answering to them because I don't live there anymore. So I went to get a perk test. He gives me the paper here. You just do the perk test. Is that 4 feet? And you do a perk test. You bring the paper back. So I did that. And he said, all our rules just changed. And I go, oh no, this is the end of my life. And I've thought this is the end of my life a couple of times. But Now you got to have a perk test at 6 feet, which is not where a leach field goes. Now you got to have a 9-foot deep trench on the property, which is not where you want to direct your water. You want to keep it in your topsoil. And I could look just from the topsoil and know that I could put in a septic tank. I had a 1/3 acre, and it was on a grade, which is what you need. You don't want it in a bowl or on a flat, because the water will stagnate there. You want it on a grade. And dirt, not just a pile of rock, but you want dirt with it. And I could tell right from the surface. That's fine. And so they came out there, $100, okay. 10 minutes later, he showed me that he was not digging 9 feet. He dug 7.5. He showed me on the tape measure. He says, well, we're going to fail your perk test anyway, so I'm not going to bother digging any further. And I had to give them $100 for that. And all he had down there was dirt. And he had not hit anything. It was dirt. And of course, they failed the soil test. And the man came up to me. I can't tell his name, but redundant, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000. I tried to reason with him. All he did was call out $10,000 and show his teeth at me. And I'm going, this is it. So one guy, so I couldn't get a building permit. I couldn't get water because there was no septic tank permit. No water. I'm living on the property. Not allowed water. Not allowed a building permit. Not allowed a septic tank permit. To put it in proper perspective, the materials to build 4 shells of houses was the $10,000. So that puts it in proper perspective around the mid-1980s. And a lot of you none of you can understand sequence, which is quite a shame. You need to start practicing it, because you've been stupid long enough. But as soon as I explain more than one event, you lose it. But a friend of mine said, well, you can at least get electricity. So I got a permit to put a 200 amp electrical box on the 12x12, which I did. It's still there, still hooked to the power line, but got the paperwork for it. There's the undercover agent's name that had been stalking me since 7th grade. He went through who knows how many other jobs, but he was following me. Payson police officer. Now he's a deputy. No, he was the office supervisor. Later, stalking me, his name on the paper again. When it came time to steal $15,000 from me, so that they could steal my house in Phoenix and run me out of Phoenix. And there it was on the wall of my house. Actually, I had an 800 square foot shell that was on the property that I did not live on. There it was, couldn't read anything on the paper except the undercover agent's name. And I could see a woman look like a crystal tweaker to me, walking through the neighbor's yard and coming around to my front, casing my joint on foot. And so 2 undercover agents, very big, very clear undercover agents. And what I would guess was that this undercover agent for Joe Arpaio, when he was 20 or whatever it was now the mob boss of Gila County. And he had his undercover agent under him, walking the neighborhoods. And that was the same one that I saw when they arrested me 1986, when he arrested me when he was pacing police. And they towed my vehicle all up and down through Payson and lied to everybody that I was the bad guy, and everybody went for it. And I hold that against the people of Pine. And if they want something better, they need to clean it up. Because, we got Gila County is Pine, Arizona. And that is one dirty group of cowards there. I had one good neighbor, very nice neighbor, and I was not sociable because I was used to being abused. But throughout my lifetime, I moved back to Phoenix. This was before my home was taken in Gila County, but the first apartment I was at, the police ran out my girlfriend, said you can't renew the lease. At her job, they accused her of ruining the computers for everybody in the building, which is not cannot be the operator's fault. That's the computer's fault. And they apparently blamed her for it in order to get her out of the job. So she lost the job and can't renew the lease. And the employee I had at the time, the Phoenix police van was waiting for him. They took him away in a van. He had ridden a motorcycle over to my house that was not registered. And they took him away in the van. Didn't see him for 3 or 4 months or whatever. My best friend, he was not allowed to renew his lease also. And he went out into a nearby apartment. So did my girlfriend. And when she lost her job, she had to leave. But my good friend, the Phoenix police stole his money that he needed to pay the rent. And he ended up basically going back to live with his parents for a while because he couldn't pay the rent. And they were targeting me. The new employee that came in, the first thing he did was try to get me to cash a check. And he lied that it belonged to his friend, and it did not. It was a fraudulent check. And they were trying to get me in with the police on that so a judge could renew something and re-dirty me. And at the next thing I know, I'm at coming to a intersection, a light turns red. All of a sudden the employee, I did landscape maintenance in Phoenix, towed a trailer, pull up to the stoplight that was right at the corner of a church, Sweetwater and 32nd Street. The light magically turns red. Oh, that's sarcasm. The employee turns up the volume on high and he's yelling out. He's trying to get me to dance along with the song or whatever that was on the stereo. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw a man taking my ladder out of the back of my trailer. And I had a 4-foot-high trailer. The ladders don't just come flying out, especially not at a red light. And the next intersection, of course, it magically turns red again, and that's, of course, is a sarcasm. A woman pulls up to me and accuses me of my ladder hitting her vehicle. So I turned around the circle immediately, disregarded the red light. I went into the parking lot, looped around, and came back and went immediately back. And it was a public service worker of some sort in the parking lot of this church with my ladder in this vehicle. It was a, I don't know, 14-foot ladder or whatever it was, and I put it in the trailer, got back to the apartment complex, took the ladder out, put it behind my couch, because I knew that organized crime was on me. 2 undercover agents pulled up. They weren't in Phoenix police uniform. They weren't in Phoenix police vehicles. 2 big blubber pieces of garbage bloated up on steroids and donuts. And one of them was jumping around inside my trailer, and one was standing outside of it. And a girl that they had come knock on my door. She used to live above me with her husband. She said that she had left her husband and she was looking for a job and she wanted a place to stay. I told her I'd help her look for a job, and I slept each night with my both hands, my pants on, a hand in each pocket, covering my wallet and my car keys, because this she did not look like a tweaker at the time, but she definitely was. But this tweaker was out in the parking lot trying to tell me, you've got to talk to these people. Yeah, I knew better than that. So I went back in the apartment, and a few days later, I'm at going to get grass seed, and clearly a setup was done. There was a person standing at the intersection. There was a woman in a vehicle in the left turn lane, and I was behind her. And they made it clear that she was going to continue. The person was not going to walk out in the middle of the intersection while he didn't have a walk light. And so he taps his foot out in the intersection. She locks up her brakes after they had made it clear that we were going to continue on through. And so I locked up my brakes as quick as I could and put the nose down on my car, went under hers, just hit my fender on her back bumper, and she made it clear that was a setup. And she said that her job was done because my vehicle was badly damaged, and her vehicle had no damage on it. But that's, I think, the first organized crime, so it was Phoenix police. That's your organized crime. But they ran me out of that complex. That was it. I moved out and got to a better complex, and put a wife wanted ad on the back of the car. One last try to get married. I was 33 or something. The mob boss, the first Joe Arpaio's undercover agent, had his daughter come out from Chicago to answer my wife wanted ad. And the undercover agent bragged that he had 11 children. Well, 21 years old, she could not have children. She had problems and could not have children at 21 years old. So they brought her out to make sure that I did not have children. And when I found out what I had gotten into there, tried to break up with her 3 times. And each time she would drink a 5-liter box of wine and then drink a bottle of wine and then come over and beat on my door for about an hour and a half and wake up the whole complex yelling and whatnot. And my metal door was taking a dent each time. 3 times we broke up, and 3 times she did the same sequence. And of course, number 3, organized crime, and I can't tell you which one said it, The more you struggle, the worse will make it be. And they did. I refused to defend myself over and over because they were going to make it worse. And all I could do was be a victim watching these criminals coming after me. They wanted me out of that apartment complex. They wanted to keep me upset. So they said my trailer wasn't allowed in the parking lot. And I said, well, it's on the original lease. What happened? I had been there for 4 years. The rent was paid perfectly. Why not? And it was an 8-foot-long trailer parked in the same spot that came with my apartment. My truck and trailer were both in the same spot. Oh no, we're not a parking garage. And there were other circumstances around it, and organized crime likes to brag. So I knew exactly what was happening. Over the years, they've told me just about everything. And my home, for example, in Phoenix, 2576 East Sweetwater Avenue, was burglarized October 16 of 2007. It was done by the Phoenix police. Now, they don't do it in uniform. They're not in breaking into your house in uniform and stealing your things. They have lawyers, they have neighbors, they have friends, and they have a lot of people that have been arrested that they friend up with in the jails to have them do a burglary. So after the burglary was done, went to one neighbor. He said, yeah, the Phoenix police told him a month in advance that the burglary was going to happen. So I go to the other neighbor. I said, yeah, what do you know about this? He says, well, the Phoenix police called me, told me when it was going to be, and I watched them do it. He said they pulled up in the vehicle in the alley, went over, he couldn't see my back window. They had cut my back window out with a glass cutter in the backyard, and went in. He said there were 2 of them. They were going back and forth through the backyard loading up the a vehicle in the alley, and of course not a marked Phoenix police vehicle, but still call it Phoenix police because that's the correct way to do it. And there was one other event when my home was being stolen from me. There was a man dancing around out in the streets yelling profanities to me. And the same neighbor, the Phoenix police, had called her wife out to witness the event. And as I say, from the time 5th grade, I really didn't have any respect for girls anymore. So the police were trying to embarrass me in front of women, and it was not working. So I'll tell them that right now because they'll watch the video too. But it really doesn't work. And they were responding to their own selves. And normally the police psychologists decide what to do. And maybe the psychologists were feeling that way, but I don't really. Throughout my lifetime, I've been a victim trying to be a bystander, just working and minding my own business, which certainly didn't happen. And they would be committing crimes against themselves, and then they would be over-attacking me too. And I want my house back in Phoenix. There's a long sequence to steal it. It involved insurance. It involved the note on my wall in Pine, Arizona. It had 2 fraudulent charges on it. And so they surrounded me on my front lawn. And I knew from the beginning it was problems because it was this undercover agent. He did not have a rational thinking mind. He had no business with any of the jobs he had. At that point, he was the deputy director, and this is in Pine, Arizona, near Payson. But and he had his undercover agent casing my joint on foot, the female that looked like a tweaker to me, but they surrounded me on my property, deputies, fell me 3 times with a casual taser attack. And what was I going to do? Just lay face down in my driveway all day? I would get back up and they would have casual conversation. They didn't try to apprehend me while I was laying down. They'd wait for me to get back up, which was normal. They were breaking me down all my life. There were, as I say, many school teachers involved in doing things that were just crazy. And this is the only answer. So I'd like the people to get involved, call them. The mayor down there, I wrote to the mayor, said a signed paper to be sent back to me. Well, 6 weeks later, a paper comes back with chicken scratch where the signature would be. I paid $6 to have that at the post office, but 6 weeks later it comes back, and who knows whose name is on it. It wasn't the name, but the mayor was hiding out from me because apparently the mayor was actually the one that is supposed to be watching over the Phoenix police. And but I was explaining in one of the other videos, I was going to look for an article from the Arizona Republic, and I checked my mail and nobody sent an article. I didn't expect you to. I know what to expect now. Together we can help God is the top words on that. And that's going to take you a while. You got 9,000 of you. But it will be better for government. They're people too. The concept of God and angels, you ask the people in the Hubble telescope, do you see clouds somewhere and somebody playing a harp in a throne? And those are all things made up by people. The harp we know very well is something people have. You've seen clouds in the sky. There isn't anything better than this. Wonders that you can't imagine in heaven. And an attractive woman, I think, would be heaven for me. And it's getting worse and worse over here in America. But I'd like you to talk to Arizona government and call the mayor, ask her. It appeared to be a woman's name on it. This may have been over a year ago when I tried to get the information. At one point they had 3 undercover agents antagonizing me. And then I went out to the parking lot after I went to the library at the Paradise Valley Mall. I came back to the parking garage, got in the car, started up, looked in the rearview mirrors, nobody, put it in reverse, looked in the rearview mirror again, there's a face looking at me. Car with the window rolled down, he had shot just behind my car and stopped. And big signs saying security and unmarked vehicle. It must be some legal thing. I've seen the word police, I've seen the word security, I've seen the word express. And when you see something like that, a sign on the driver's door of an unmarked vehicle, that's a clue that illegal police activity is targeting somebody around you. And of course that around you is always me. But I stopped, looked at him, and waited. He had his window rolled down so he could point his face at my rearview mirror. I just kept looking at him in the rearview mirror. And he had the front of the car right behind mine, I don't know, this far. And what they were doing, a Phoenix Police Tahoe was hiding in the parking lot, and he had radioed to him when my reverse lights would come on. He knew I was getting ready to back out. Pull straight behind me after I've checked the mirrors, and then you maybe look somewhere else and start backing out. Not me, I'm a very careful driver. And all it would have took was a split second to hit the front end of this vehicle. And knowing the Phoenix police, it would have been a lie that I had was some out of control man intentionally doing something and out of control and broke my probation, and now I've got to go back to prison. It didn't happen. But I did collect the information, and that's what real psychology does. In 58 years I've been a victim. This has not been a pleasant life. And as I say, they made sure that I stay alive. And that's the only reason I am in this mess. This is not pleasant. And I've collected all this information. I've been practicing to be a teacher since the 90s. You would be best off voting Gary York president because I could be a teacher for you. And government would diminish. It has been proven that I'm not going to go away from this. They say all power corrupts, and I don't think so. Not me. Everybody else is corrupted already. They just have power, then they can show everybody they're corrupt. Otherwise, they have no vehicle to show their corruption. And all of you will like this much better. And I want my house back in Phoenix. At the time they attacked me, I owed $5,000 on the mortgage. And what they did was a setup. And essentially the Phoenix police officer hit himself, according to law, and to put in a assault charge on me, and off to jail, and off to prison, not allowed a trial, not allowed to be out. I was a very upstanding citizen. I owned 2 houses. I had a business for 35 years in Phoenix. Savings accounts, everything perfect. And all of a sudden, oh, unbondable. Well, no. It's organized crime. A judge in Payson gave me 2 numbers to describe what I was charged with because it was absolute fraud. They were stealing $15,000 from me. And the undercover agent, then I learned who she was when she said, "It doesn't matter what you're charged with, you have to do everything we say, choose from our list and pay our people any money they want." And all in total, money went every which way, and all illegal. And certainly over $15,000, which was what I owed on the house when it was taken from me. And the payments were still being made after I was put in jail. I had money in the account for 2 more payments. And it does look like the lender, and I'm going to accuse it, you've got a virgin born the son of God on a bale of hay. I've got something really crazy. a major banking institution, or whatever you'd call it, took out another major national banking institution for Gary York, to get Gary York's loan over to the crooks. And I'll tell you more about that, or read the book or something, but I'm accusing them of running that company out much the same way the Mexican-American War ended up. The similar money fashion and signatures is that. I'm accusing this major bank organized crime in running out another major banking for Gary York in order to get Gary York's loan. And why not? It'll give you something to research. You can have fun with this thing. You can look into it when you've got stuff like this. The copyright for the book. The federal government read the book and gave a copyright. The date is November 8th of 2019. The government watches over me, so they had signed paperwork by me that I was to be back here in Colorado on the 14th of December of 2019 to start selling this book. Nobody bought it. No strangers bought the book. And 2 weeks later, a case was diagnosed. It was one of the first ones in America diagnosed. 2 weeks later, 200 miles from right here. And those are facts, and I won't go any further. I have to stick with just facts, no speculation on that. But those are facts. And all of you have a job to do, and I have 100% of the answers on both. And your government may go along with it. And the people need to get together on this. And I was going to make this a longer video, but start with calling the Arizona mayor. Why did she not answer me? Who was the man in the security vehicle? It was clear that he had pulled behind me to get a crash. And just start with those little things whittling away, and there are dozens. Over 58 years, there are hundreds of events that I can talk to you about, and you can look them up and enjoy this, find some interest in this, and get used to the evidence that I am the second coming. And that's going to help you a lot. You're not going to be looking for the return of Jesus and the trials and tribulations that have to be before that. 2021 years and you're still looking. If you don't see me as your second coming, you're going to be looking another 2021 years. And you're going to like it because what I've got for you makes sense and it has much evidence. And it would be wonderful to get a dialogue with your people of the police forces. And some of them, when I was a child, may be old and dead now. An undercover agent told me one principal involved in crime against me. I had a sign on the back of the truck. They had an undercover agent tell me that man died 6 years ago, and to lose my reason to have that sign on the truck. And that's how close they're watching me. And many other events, just if you can see me as your credible source, start watching these videos, start telling your friends to watch these videos. And you're going to like it. Call the mayor and ask them, have they been stalking Gary York since he was 6? And you take both sides of the story and you go from there and learn from there. And Joe Arpaio is 88 now. You ought to hurry up and see what he has to say. And criminals like to brag. See what he has to say. But start asking questions and you're all going to like living in heaven rather than this mess you're in. And you have no momentum. You're a car without gas. Move forward anyway. Even though you're a car without gas, you're a dead battery, move forward anyway. Then look back and see what you did. And so far you can't fix stupid. Well, you got that. Now fix stupid too. Thank you.